everybody, welcome to TL's Roadhouse. Got Bryan Martin in the house with us
man.
today,
Thank
man.
you, brother. I
Hot new
appreciate
young
it.
artist, man. It's good to have you, brother.
Thank you, bro. Like I said, I feel like we've known each other for years. I ain't been here for 5 minutes.
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier. We've definitely drank from the same water. I was living in that whole North Louisiana area before I moved to Nashville, playing a lot of the same clubs, the Jackson Junction and Whispering Pines in
Whispering
Ringo,
Pines.
Louisiana, and Bill's New Country and BJ's down in
Yes,
Shreveport.
sir.
There was a whole bunch of them that we worked in that area.
Man, I remember being like the pride of my life, like taking a stage at uh 25, I think, in Ringo at Whispering Pines, and them saying, Tracy Lawrence played
I remember. Let's see, Garth Brooks, and I'll tell this story all the time. But Garth Brooks hit in '89, and I moved to Nashville in the fall of '90. And I remember playing. I was so excited when we got to Whispering Pine because I had just seen Garth there like the year before when he just really started blowing up.
Yeah.
So I remember going to that show and just being crazy how packed it was. So being able to, because when we played there in our little circuit band, yeah, we might have 200 or 300 people, and then coming back after my career hit and playing Whispering Pines again
Man,
and packing it out, it was pretty cool.
it was. I remember going down there and going to Lake Charles down to, because my first person I was signed to was Randy Boudreaux.
Boudreaux.
That wrote Alibis, and I think it was one of those deals where it was a lot of things, man. Like I said, it's been one of those deals where I never thought in a million years I'd be sitting here talking to you. So I'm just grateful for it. Everything kind of links together and happens for a reason, though.
Well, you've had quite the journey from everything we were talking about earlier, and just some of the stuff that I've read on you. What's the name of your hometown?
Logansport, Louisiana.
Logansport. And what's the closest town to Logansport?
The closest big city is Shreveport.
Shreveport. That's all kind of right there. And then the
Shreveport, Mansfield.
Trace Atkins is from down there.
Yes, sir.
I lived in Spring Hill for a while with this Cullah and Sarepta and all that through that area right there. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
where Trace is
That's
from.
where
So I
Trace-
knew him before I came to Nashville. And golly, so Kix Brooks is from Shreveport. My first producer, James Stroud's from Shreveport.
Junior was born in Shreveport.
Hank Jr. I mean, there's a lot of musical culture that comes from that whole area. I remember seeing Travis Tritt at Ellick in Alexandria at the
Yes,
Fools
sir.
Go before it closed down. I don't know how long it's been gone, but it was like the spring of 1990, just before I got ready to move to Nashville. And I remember him singing, "I'm going to be somebody," and I was right in front of him going, "I'm going to be somebody too."
Man, ain't that how it works, man? Like I said, I told you when I was in Shreveport at that Rock and Rodeo. Remember Rock and
Oh
Rodeo?
yeah.
So Rock and Rodeo, the first time I ever got up in front of people as an adult, I was 18, wasn't supposed to be in there, but they got me the old wristband that said 21. I said, shoot. I got up there and I said, I done had me a couple liquid courages. I got up there and I said, hey, put me on that Tracy Lawrence Sticks and Stones right quick. And and Trini Triggs was running the.
I love old Trini. He's my partner, man.
He was running the karaoke down there. So yeah, man, that was my first time getting up there, and the first karaoke pick I had to debut was Sticks and Stones. Man, it's one of those songs where it's just like Kenny Beard, a Ringo guy,
Oh yeah, Kenny wrote all kinds of stuff for me. I remember meeting him when I first got to town, and Kenny wrote "Today's Lonely Fool" for me. "Any Fool Can See," "Is That a Tear?" We co-wrote "Second Home" together. "If the World Had a Front Porch." I mean, we had a really good run there for a long time. And Trace and I were both at the hospital with him when he passed away.
Oh, man.
That friendship ran really deep for all of us.
I didn't even realize he had passed, man. It's
Kidney tumor. He had kidney tumor.
Dang, man.
Yeah, it's been a few years back.
Really?
Before COVID.
I guess it's been a while since I've been back home, so I learned something new, man.
Yeah, man. He was a good egg, man. We spent a lot of time together over the years. He played in my band early on. We called it Sing 3, Talk a Lot. He'd go out and open it and warm the crowd up for me a little bit. Kenny had a great voice. One of my favorite country singers of all time, man.
I loved him, man. Like I said, we hung out a lot out there at the Whispering Pines, back in the day. And he'd always tell me, hey, man, you got it. You just got to keep with it. So
that's it. So you got musical history, too. You said your mama sang Louisiana Hayride when she was young.
She did, man. She started out, it used to be Donna Kay in the Silverado band.
No kidding.
Yeah, and she traveled and she did this. She used to sing at the Keyfield Jamboree down there with Allison Krauss and the Cox family when Allison was only like 13 years old. And she's opened up Fair and Young as deputies and played for David Houston. And but when I was born, I was one of many miscarriages. And whenever she had me, she's like, nah, I had got to give it up for you, you know.
You
And so,
tough.
yeah. So then she's like, she started recording me at 4 years old, and I think the first cassette tape I was 4, and she was making me sing "Achy Breaky Heart," and I was in there singing "Achy Breaky Heart," and then after that, dude, she had me in a room with some kind of tape playing at some point, and she's like, "You're gonna do it until you get it right, because you're living for me now, because I gave it up for you." so,
Oh man.
so I remember she said, you got to make it to the Opry before I die. So like last year, I took her to see me do my Opry debut, man.
That's awesome, man.
And
It
I was
really
like,
is.
so now I figure it up, man. If I figure it up from the age of 4 to now, I'm 32 years in. so
I got to play for the first time. The old building that was the Louisiana Hayride is still there, and Clay Walker and I had a show there a year ago or so, and it was the first time I ever got to be in that building. My mama told me stories all about it from down in that area. So,
man,
yeah, there was a lot of history, man. Everybody came through there. Elvis was there, and Farron Young, and Jerry Lee Lewis. I mean, everybody came through that
everybody,
place.
man.
It was the equivalent of what the Grand Ole Opry was here.
I think that's what they tried. You know, I think it was one of those deals where it might have been, you know, one of the originals. You know,
Oh, it was. It was one
yeah,
of the first ones. And jamborees were still big back home when I was coming up. I mean, I got on stage for the first time when I was 14 years old at a little jamboree hall. And they were scattered all around, 4 or 5 of them around. A couple of them were converted movie theaters, you know, little things like that. And then a couple of them were just old metal buildings out
yep.
in the middle of nowhere. Have a house band, you go in, sing a couple of songs, and then they'd have a headliner at night. You know, just country music. It was just. I remember singing Gene Watson and Randy Travis songs. You know, on the other hand, all that stuff. That's where my heart's always
Oh,
been. All
dude.
that old traditional, early '80s country, man.
Uh,
The little Hank Jr. in there every now and
oh
then.
man, you can't go wrong, man. Like I
Yeah.
said, I was literally just covering uh, "Never Go Around Mirrors" yesterday in the studio because we'd finished up the, uh, some of the cuts that are on my new album, and I was like sitting in there with an acoustic guitar, and they're like, "Hey man, what's one of your favorite covers from back in the day?" And I said, "Well, you know, it's no originally a Lefty song." I said, "But I Never Go Around Mirrors was one of the
Oh
first
man,
ones I
know it
ever
well.
learned, man."
Done it a whole bunch,
Yes,
man.
sir.
I never got to meet Keith, but I've become good friends with Lori and the family over the years, man. They're
Man,
good
kid,
people.
Jesse Keith and all them real good people,
I
man.
love Jesse Keith, man. He's a good friend of mine. So, what was the first song you ever sang on stage? You remember what it was?
Man, first one on stage. Well, first one on stage was Sticks and Stones. First one on stage playing with a band was probably.
How old were you too?
If we're talking before.
Were you a teenager? I mean,
So I was 6. So at 6 years old, I was being drug around with my mama to like all the grand openings in the town and anything they had the riverfront, and I would do that, and I was singing "I Crossed My Heart," George
yeah.
Strait, and I was singing I think it was Daddy's Hands.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Kathy Mattea?
Jax.
No, Daddy's Hands.
What?
No. It
Daddy?
wasn't Kathy Mattea. It was
One of the Judds, I think.
No,
no.
that's a.
What
Yeah, I
was
can't remember it now.
Kathy Mattea?
Yeah, yep.
Kathy Mattea. Took me a
Daddy's
minute. Yeah.
Hands. Yeah, man. It was like, you know, and I remember singing those songs so much to where it was like, man, I'm tired of singing these songs. Like I said, you can't sing.
Mhm.
I said, as I got older, I told some people in some interviews, I said, I started to think I was hating George Strait, but it was really that song. I said, now if I, you know, no offense, it's a great song, but you know, it's just like hearing one that's been overplayed and overplayed and overplayed. But if I count the hours of being in a room and knowing that my voice and my little body could not sound just like George Strait, but I better get in there until I get it. You know, I'm
Your
like,
mama pushed you that
oh
hard.
yeah, man. And it's like
Was it too much?
it was just enough, I think. It was like sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes it was when I started getting recognition, you know, at an early age, you know, I at first I took it as like I didn't want it because I didn't want it to take away from hers, you know. So it's like one of those things where like I felt like she needed that because all the things she'd been through in life, you know. I was like she kind of needed that attention, and you know, so whenever I'd see her, kind of like if somebody come up and say, "Hey, you did great today," and they wouldn't say nothing to mom, I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be hell later,"
Oh,
you know. So it was like, so my thing was, but I don't think she ever intended it to be that way. It's just the way that it was, you know.
yeah.
I think that it's like now as an adult, I understand it. It's like, but at the same time, like, man, you know, you can't. you can't ever tell what somebody's been through, the trauma they've been through, and you know,
And the heartbreak.
and the heartbreak.
You know, just being so close and being able to touch it and never getting there.
Never get there. That's that. Dude, I tell you, that's 3 years ago. Before I made this move in town, I was, you know, I was about to hang it up, and I said, you know, I'm gonna sell my guitar. And I went back, you know, my ex, and she said, if you sell your guitar, you might as well not come home because you don't know how to talk without it. And
so you got 4 kids.
4 kids.
And you were married for how long?
14 years, and 14 years, and I've been dating her for about 3 now. So we've been together.
So you kind of ebb and still coming back and forth, but there was something that happened, and you decided to make that move to Nashville 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 3. It was so, man, I came up here at 18, and I just wasn't impressed, you know. And I came up here and I said, man, if this is what it is, I don't want it. And then, so I went back to work in the oil field, and I was singing. I wrote a song called Oil Field Dad, and songs about the oil field, and that's all I would write, was just what I was going through. But the guys on the rigs and everybody, you know, in the oil field and stuff started catching on to it, and they're like, man, you ought to be on The Voice. You ought to be on American Idol. And I was like, man, I said, I'm gonna take the long way around. I said, I'm a songwriter, and but I was up until not long ago, I was literally a year and a half ago, I was still playing on a bar stool for $400 a night, and playing for 4 hours at a time. And I would say, you know, hey, don't pay no mind to my voice. I'm just a songwriter. And I said, but if y'all hear something in these words, you know, that it might help you, like, just know that that's what I'm here to do. And I never in a million years would think I'd be an artist, you know, to be, you know, everybody singing my songs back to me. And
pretty cool, isn't
it is. It is, man. So it's definitely crazy, because I was made to be a singer at an early age. Songwriting brought me back to it right after I got back from a little short stint in the military at 18. And it came from a suicide note, man, a misfire 357, my daddy's. And I took my note and I wrote my first song out of it, and I found that I could say a lot of things. And, you know,
a misfire?
Yeah, it was a misfire, man.
You was in a bad place.
I was in a real, because I'd never quit a job. I bailed, hey, at an early age, 13 years old. I'd, you know, rode bulls, you know, anything I could get into to get away from the music around 13.
Is that because you were trying to get away from the
music,
the pressure of the mom, your mom, and everything? So,
and this dirt track race, you know, and like I remember, you know, all that stuff just kind of came kind of hard at me, because I was like, I never quit a job, I never, you know, failed at anything, but like I was kept picking up something else that I didn't know how to do, and I kept failing. And it was like, but I enjoyed learning from the failures, you know, like getting on a bull and going, I want the toughest one they got. Even if I can't ride it, even if I fall off 20 more times, I want to do it. And then it was just taking one more step, one more challenge, and just like my daddy, you know, daddy was a electrician, and you know, my daddy was also worked on everything out in the yard. And so if I going out there, and even if I was holding a flashlight and he come back out with a sandwich, he's like, oh, whoa, turning the wrench the wrong way. I said, I'm still holding the flashlight waiting on you to get back, man. You know, but it was like I learned that I had to go, and he told me, he said, my daddy never taught me none of this. I had to learn it on my own. And he told me, he said, I don't know how to teach you because I've never been taught. I just know you got to watch and learn. You got to.
Yeah.
And so I would have to go outsource and learn outside of that. If he wasn't around, I'd find something of my own that I could go work on, tinker on it. But I better not lose a wrench. If I pick up one of his wrenches, even if it's in a pile of dirt out in the front yard, he knew exactly where it was and where it was rusting. And all it needed was a little WD-40.
He knew where everything was.
Yeah, so he's like, don't, you know. And he was tough on me, man. But it's at the same time, it's like, a lot of people look at that as like a bad thing, but now that I'm grown, I look at it as it made me who I am. It made me second guess everything. It made me think about every step I take and consider the outcomes and consider, you know, what, you know, empathy is a big thing for me. Like, man, I look at what could this do to somebody else, or if I mess this up. When I was on the rig, you know, I said, you know, I can't get a promotion till this guy behind me knows my job as good as I do it, or at least as good as enough to where I can go try to learn the next job, because I don't want I don't want to be the one to call his family and tell him, hey man, this dude trying to learn. He's a floor hand trying to learn how to be a motor hand, so he's cross training and wind up sticking his arm in the wrong place and or getting killed.
Yeah.
And so
And it happens quick.
Out there. And I just had to learn that it's a reality and it's not. I learned at an early age that it's a reality. Death is a real thing, and and when my suicide note and that gun misfire, man, I realized that God had something for me. I just didn't know what it was. I just started writing songs and went into the ministry for a little bit and did a country gospel and traveled around. And then I realized that, in the church, I felt like I was, the tattooed kid that had been messed up and was telling his testimony and didn't know how to sugarcoat my testimony, So I felt like sometimes in the church, I felt that there was some people in there that didn't really want to hear the whole story. They just wanted to hear
the glossed over. Praise God, what we made out of ourselves. They don't want to hear what it took to get there.
Yeah, what it took. So it's like I learned that, man, I could sit at the bar and reach more people than this.
Let me tell you something though. One of the things I've learned too over the years is songwriting is such a healthy freaking thing for your mind. It's so therapeutic because you can, even if I don't write a lot by myself, and I need to make myself start doing it more. Because before I came to Nashville, I wrote by myself all the time because I'd never been exposed to co-writing and all that stuff. But there's something real cool about co-writing and collaborating with one or two people, and kind of when you get an idea, you start sharing experiences and stories. And I've learned. And correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that I've learned over the years is how to not feel like you have to write everything exactly the way it was in your memory.
Yeah.
About being able to polish it up and get the most color and the imagery out of it. And that's the cool thing about having a couple of people that you're writing with. Everybody's perspective matters, and you can find, well, that situation fits this verse and it works this better and it gives it a better storyline. And that I used to get my feelings hurt when I'd write a song and it was so personally attached to it, and then somebody would critically judge it, and I'd get pissed off.
I would too.
Hurt.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I've learned,
it's like a child, man.
Yeah, but I've learned to detach myself from that as I've gotten older. Do you still struggle with that?
Man, yeah, I still struggle, mainly because I think that now where I'm at is like, if there's two people in the room and we can't relate on something wholly, as far as like as a complete, we both been there. I feel like we should leave that one alone and find something that we can. Because like, if you can't completely relate to somebody in that room and you're just there, to try to compare, each other's stories and pick them apart. Like, I think if we find relatability and make sure that that's what song you get out of the room, that's when you know that you're going to reach.
And try to get as much imagery out of it as you can.
You got to paint it like it is.
Were you a good student in school? Were you good in English and stuff?
I mean, no, I was not.
You wish you were? Now?
I wish I was.
Because I feel the same way.
My vocabulary is about, man, my vocabulary is gone, man. Louisiana, everybody's like, we can't ever understand you when you're talking on the mic, but man, you sing good.
Well, I try not to say it on podcasts very much, but the F word is the most versatile word in the English language, and we all find ourselves using it a lot.
I do. I use it. I use it in a couple songs, man. One of them that's on the radio. So yeah, but it's I think I've learned that I mean, when I was in the ministry, I went without cussing, went without drinking, went without everything. But it's like, I think it was one of those deals where I said, I want to change and be a better man, but I don't want to change who I am, know? And I think that that's the biggest thing was like relatability and shoving something down somebody's throat and trying to go around acting like
you're better than everybody.
Like you're better than everybody.
But also, there's something about a man as you get older about establishing a certain code about who you are, and these are my boundaries. And I've been out here outside of them, but this is where I need to stay, and I'm going to try to keep myself together. And it's a personal thing.
It's a personal.
And my boundaries aren't everybody else's boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn that.
And I respect yours, but that's one of the things that frustrates me about the society that we're in right now. People don't respect everybody else's boundaries.
No.
It's not a healthy place that we're in a lot of ways.
We can't, man. When I came into this world, I think it's one of those things where as I got older, at an early age, I learned nobody owes me nothing. And I think that, that's my code that I've always lived by. Like, if I want something, I got to get up and go get it. I got to get up and go work for it. And, like, my biggest thing is, I think that nowadays kids, at that age that when I learned that, they know that because they've gotten used to diving off into fantasy games, and this is how it should be. Like everything's a fantasy, and it's like reality is. I rode up and seen there's bales of hay rolled out here. I see that there's a place taken care of it. That stuff don't just happen while you're in there playing a game or while you're in there.
No,
You
there's
got
things that have to be done around here
when
every day.
I was a kid, if the yard wasn't mowed, my daddy came home. He was like, "What are you doing?" I said, man, I just got home from school." He's like, "Why ain't you out there fixing that lawnmower? The yard's back grown up, Why ain't you tore it up? You ran over that dog leash out in the yard, So
Are you as hard on your kids as your dad was on you?
no,
I'm not either.
man,
Because my dad was real hard on me too, and I came out of it a little bit bitter about some things, but I used a lot of that for fuel too. But also, I tried real hard not to be the same. Of course, I've fallen short of that in a lot of
yeah.
ways. But all I know is what I came from.
That's me too. And the older I get, the more I realize like there's some things I probably stripped away from them in the long run from not raising them a little tougher, But at the same time, there's some things that I probably saved them from too. It's like I think that they'll never have to worry about hurting because as far as like financially, but like having me and having
That ain't everything.
that ain't everything, and that's what I'm learning too. Is like my daddy. I just retired my daddy, and he said, you can't afford to retire me. And I said, I ain't saying I'm retiring me. I said, I'm retiring you. And I bought him. He said, well, I'm still at work. He said, so if you need me to do something, you let me. I said, no. I said, it ain't gonna work like that either. I said, I don't want you to work for me. I said, I just want you to just know you've done enough, man. And I bought him my old 47 Chevy pickup truck. And I said, here you go. And he's like, man, he said, I'm gonna take it down there to Louisiana and work on it in the shop. And I said, what? I said, I'm sure there'd be something fixed on it, But I told him, always something. He's got an old Corvette that used to be my aunt's out in the yard. It's like you pull up down there in my house. It's a dirt road. It goes 10 miles, and it's the only damn house on it. And you pull up down there, and there's a pontoon that says Arizona Belle, and we're far from Arizona. And and there's a
You're just throwing song ideas out left and right, son.
It's
jumping all over the place around
here.
Man.
And it's a Corvette and an old workshop and that double wide trailer, man, and sitting off in the pines. And it's like, I said that in my song, Wolves Cry. Like, I grew up on the banks of the Sabine River, not far from the Texas line. I ain't got much, but I'm damn proud of that double wide off in the pines, And I think that's my biggest thing is, when I pay that off, and that he's already paid off a million times over. When I pay that off for the last time, I'm gonna finally be able to say, hey, Dad, this for you, man. Because like, even though I know he was hard on me, he came home every day and he didn't go to sleep until he done did everything his back could handle. He didn't ever lose an ounce of sleep though. When he went to sleep, he was tired.
I bet he was. I bet he slept hard every day night. It was a different day and age back then, man. Things have changed so much. The world's just completely different than how we grew up. It really is. And technology-wise, it's a lot of things that are better, but I think cultural-wise and ethically in a lot of things, it's just not the same. And I'd love to see some of it come back. But as a songwriter, it gives us so much to talk about. I just wish this cancel culture thing would go away and comedians could go back to being comedians and songwriters can go back to writing songs the way they want to write them. And labels stop telling you that's a little bit too intelligent. It's above your audience's head, or that needs to be beefed up a little bit. Let me write my freaking song. If you don't like it when I turn it in, let me.
Hey, the ones that need it, the ones that get it, And it's like I said, in the cancel culture thing, man. It's like I said, man, I'm all mixed cultures, man. I'm Native American. I'm Irish. My grandpa was adopted in San Antonio, and he told me he was a little bit of everything. I said, so I'm about as neutral as it gets when it comes to that. So it's like but the one thing I'll say every night when I play Wolves Cry is I say, I'm very proud to be part Native American, but I'm damn proud to be 100% American.
Amen, bro.
And I said, and like I said, I didn't get to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish when I signed up for the military because of medical discharge. But I would tell you this, like I always say it every night. Like I got a waiver after 6 months when I got back home, and I misfired that gun. I'd met Bobby Joe, the mother of my kids, and we got married, and when that waiver came in, I ripped it up and I said, you know what, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. But the more I see the country just going downhill, I was like, I tell everybody every night. I said, if I'm still young enough and it needs it again, I'll sign back up. I'm 36 years old now. I don't know what the cutoff is, but I said if it gets down to it again, I said I'll go back.
Yeah.
And I don't care where my career's at.
You seem like that kind of guy, man.
Yeah.
So what's when you come up with a song idea, what direction, like what kind of song ideas excite you the most? Are they songs from your memory? Are they a good hook line that comes in when you get some? What's the last thing that really excited you? With God dang, I got to write that freaking song right now.
Man, like Mike, we was talking about earlier, man. The other day, I was sitting in that garage, and that we had just got back off tour, and on the bus, because I'd always drove myself everywhere, and everybody else sleeping on. They griped about the shuttle bus I built, and I'm like, man, I went in there in a week when I bought this thing for 30 grand. It had 15,000 miles on it. It was an airport shuttle bus. I pulled all the seats
Ooh,
out.
they were rough.
Yeah, I pulled the seats out of it, and I went in there and I met this guy that was building out buses. And I said, "What they make them bunks out of?" He said, "Birchwood." And he said, "About $100 a piece, sheet of plywood." I said, "Damn." So I bought this bus, and I went out there and I bought some birchwood, and I went out there in a week and built this shuttle bus. Man, I put a triple bunk on this side of it. I put a futon, one of them Walmart futon.
As a master suite.
Yeah, master suite.
Master suite.
This way and then this way. I put some that laminate flooring over the windows, and then I hung Gus up. I had Gus from Lonesome Dove hanging up in there because he was the only thing I had in that camper when I was going through my divorce, and I wrote all these songs that's popping off now. So I hung Gus up in there, man, and I left the back part where the wheelchair ramp comes up for all the equipment. We didn't even have to haul a trailer for a year.
I've only heard this secondhand information. I don't know it to be true, but I've always heard these stories about David Allen Coe. So David, what I was told, he had a black tour bus back in the '70s, and it had nothing in it. They threw like bean bags and stuff around. They had a 5-gallon bucket that they pissed in. David didn't ride on the bus. David had a limo, and David drove the limo, and he'd follow behind the bus. Yeah, he wouldn't ride on the bus.
So I drove the bus. So we had the same bucket though. I guarantee you.
No number two.
Right, I had a microwave. I had a refrigerator, and then below it, I even built me this one of them fancy trash cans that folds down, and a TV mounted up. It was way too big for that shuttle, man. And I'm driving, and TV's bouncing, hit me in the side.
Well, we got to talk about our buddy Colt Ford, because you're out in Colt's bus right now.
Yes,
he had
sir.
a massive heart attack out in Phoenix a few weeks ago, and I was just texting with him today. I'm going to see him in a couple of days out in Oklahoma. So
Man, I love him.
it'd be good to check in on him. And so it's been good for you getting in a tour bus.
Man,
it makes a big difference, don't it?
It does, man.
When you're working multiple shows and you're grinding it out, and because a lot of smaller venues, sometimes you're running 500-600 miles a night. It might beat you to death out
It
there.
does. I got to a point to where I was, that's why I went to rehab, because I was, trying to keep up with the schedule and the grind. And, my thing is, like, I got on the Adderall, and I got on, alcohol and Adderall. And, but I would have to I'd play a show. When I got done with the show, I'd say, boys, we got to load up because we got to be at sound check, 8 hours away. And, then I'd drive there. I had been pulling up at sound check for the other show.
Yeah.
And played that show. And then
get a nap.
I'd go, I'd get like maybe 30 minutes in 3 days, 30-minute nap here and there. And I was taking them, and they're like, man, how you staying up? You ain't. I said, well, I'm taking my medicine, man. I said, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm taking my damn medicine. I'm running down the road acting like I got this shit figured out. But about 72 hours in, you start seeing shit on the walls.
It'll catch up with you.
It'll catch up with you. And I realized, I was like, I'm becoming a bad habit. And
there's a lot of demons out here in this business. I mean, you're in a industry that is fueled by alcohol.
Oh yeah,
and everything else you can imagine. It's been around us all the time. We've all seen it. We've all done it. We've all been in it for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Anybody that says they hadn't lied.
Oh yeah,
in some shape, form, or fashion. But it's everywhere. I mean, this is and what I've learned too. I don't know if you experienced this. I'm sure you got a lot of buddies back home, but I've had to really roll a lot of things back because we do this every day. And a
Yeah.
lot of times your buddies come out, they see you once or twice a year and they show up and they want to party.
They want to party.
They want to party. I see it. And I know people everywhere. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing people every day and I've just had to stop.
Man, that's my thing
you
too.
Can't.
You can't. Because
Can't do it every day.
Every day is a party.
To the people that are coming to see you.
The one that whenever, and then they don't realize that here, we have to be in that. We have to meet somebody new every day that thinks it's a party. We have to meet somebody. It's like, man, and it's hard being the party and not partying.
Absolutely,
and it's a
hard thing.
It's a hard thing, especially like, I remember.
I feel like I need to get my phone out and start writing song ideas.
Yeah.
You just throwing that shit out, boy.
Dude, we can do it. Hey, I tell you what, when we done with this podcast, when we ain't got so many co-writers in here.
Yeah, I tap out at 3. Only me and 2 more. That's
if it ain't a third, it ain't worth the turd.
It's money tight enough out there in royalties these days anyway.
Yeah, I know. If you a fourth, you might as well go hang up your single eye, boys.
You've had some big successful songs on the radio and stuff, but back in the 90s when we were working pretty hard, when an artist, when a songwriter would get cuts, man, if you were getting 6, 8 B-sides or album cuts a year, you were making $250,000 a year, and you get a single every once in a while, and you get a number 1 record, and that's $500,000 on a straight tune or something. And so you making good money nowadays. If you're not getting singles, if you ain't getting a single, man, album cuts don't pay nothing, and streaming don't pay nothing. People don't realize that streaming don't pay anything.
No, it don't, man. And I think that's the thing is like now, it's we ride. When I came to town, I had close to 3,000 songs I wrote, and I hadn't had really no cuts, no big cuts or nothing. But just my BMI check about a year and a half, 2 years ago was like $300 every 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, just now because of We Ride, it's like, and that song's done, $250,000 or so, or no, $250,000 streams, and it's like 30,000, every 3 months now. But it's like, if you think about back, if that would have been back in the day,
oh, dude, a big lick, man. And the whole thing is, it's feast or famine. You get on a run, then you might have 2 or 3 years where you just can't get nothing done. It's pretty tough, man. It ebbs and flows.
And then you're looking at it like, and I think that's what puts so much pressure on everybody out here now too. Is like to go, oh shoot, that's a big one. And now the bills are getting bigger because everybody saw checks coming now that now I got a house here in Tennessee, and now guess what? This is where the old cycle could repeat itself. For everybody else that comes to town, and it's like an oil boom. It's
exactly what it is. And I threaten the band all the time. If they don't tighten up, I'm going to fire them all and hire a bunch of little people. I can pay them half price and double them up in a bar.
12 bucks, a whole lot of people.
Right.
Man, this is awesome.
I'm enjoying visiting with you.
You too, man.
So you're heading out with the Morgan Wallen like this week.
This week, man. We actually leave out 8:00 in the morning, saving on them co-drivers.
Oh yeah, I understand.
So we're gonna head out in the morning, and they're gonna take an 8-hour break at Love's. So if y'all are anywhere around the Love's where we're taking a break, I'll be playing for tips.
Where's your first show at?
We're playing in Minneapolis.
Cool.
So we're gonna head up to Minneapolis, and then we're gonna be. Man, I couldn't believe that he even knew who I was. Man, he reached out to Kevin. Kevin Neal.
Oh yeah. And
Kevin reached out to me right after I just got the chance to open for the Aldine, and it was my first because I had that song FAFO, so I was, and then he came out with Try That in a Small Town. Well, everybody automatically started doing these TikTok reels where they were doing hats and stuff where it said Try That in a Small Town FAFO, and then they were like putting our songs together, like I was like cool, and then next thing I know they called and they asked me to come out there to that show, and when they were trying to boycott him outside of his show, for that song. And I was like, I showed up there, and it was, I remember saying, I hope they can hear us from outside the gates. I said, here's y'all song, and I saw him fuck around and find out. And I remember, because it was just like, man, my thing is like this, is like, I work too damn hard to get here, and I worked too hard to take care of my family and to provide for them. For anybody to think that they have the entire,
And want to make you feel guilty or bad
yeah,
about what you sacrificed to
yeah,
get her. I don't buy into
yeah.
that
I
mess.
ain't about
No.
no man. It's like
I mean, it might look all glamorous from the outside, but anybody that's successful in this business has worked their
it
ass
work. Yeah,
off
that's
and
it.
sacrificed a lot and hurt a lot of people that love them because
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Oh,
just
dude,
part
it's
of
just
it,
part
man.
of it, and
You
you know,
do.
and I think the biggest thing is taking accountability. I think a lot of people have lost the ability to take accountability for their
Just
own.
own what you do,
It's
man.
just own it.
And then just own it, man. It's a lot easier to get on with your life. You just own it, suck it up, and deal with it,
You
man.
just say, hey, this is me. This is the way I am. It's like I said. I tell everybody every night when I sing FAFO, I say, if you got babies out there and they don't like, sometimes if we're in not all ages venue, I'll go out there and I go, hey, I see there's like some youngins out there. If they don't like
You
the
got
F
to know
word,
your audience.
yeah. If you get
Might put them earmuffs
put them
on.
earmuffs on, because I said I love my country. I said I'm gonna sing this song everywhere I go, and I said and this is just my opinion. And I said, we all know what opinions are. They're all like assholes. We all got one. I said, but if you don't like mine, you can shove it up yours. Because I said, and I tell them like that because it's the truth, man. It's like my thing is my opinion matters too. Your opinion matters. His opinion matters. Everybody, his opinion matters. But at the same time, we all have one. We don't always have to agree on.
No, and that don't mean we got to dislike each other or have or come to fist over it, the whole thing, man. We can agree to
We can agree to
disagree.
disagree.
Yeah, and let's focus more on the things
Dude,
we have in common than the
let's
things we
just
disagree on.
agree like this. Pull it up, man. Like let's just think about this. The way they have houses, section off. Whoever built the first fence, that man set a boundary.
Oh yeah.
Whoever built the first fence, that man said, "Hey, I like your place. It looks great. This is mine." And there's a lot of people that don't realize that there's fences that people are crossing everywhere, and they're not realizing that it's not taken away from yours. You still have yours on that side of that fence, but
But we have fences in a lot of other places than just our yard.
Yeah, we have a lot of fences. And if you come over here and it's in an unneighborly manner, just know you can fuck around and find out. Because I got babies in the house. You ain't getting in there. I got a lot of things I worked for. I busted my ass to give them, not you. So like I said, that's my thing. It's like I told when I came to this town. I said, hey, as long as you shoot me straight and there's transparency, we'll be all right. And
that ain't too much to ask.
It's not too much to ask, and I always depended on that to be that way. And a handshake, just being able to trust people. But I don't think it's a thing in this world anymore.
Especially not in the big corporate world and in the business.
No,
it's all paperwork.
It's all paperwork and contracts. So I've just learned like now it's like, but any dollar that comes out of my back pocket that somebody didn't earn and they feel it's their right to take, they're taking from my babies. And at that point, you're not stealing from me, you're stealing from them. And when you do that, man, that's that fury. That's that one thing that keeps me just proud to be American, because I know that I came from being a Native American and part Irish. These two don't mix, especially when you put whiskey in it. But at the same but at the same time, it was a fight, and it's been a fight for all these years to protect what's ours, to have what we have. And I think people just need to start respecting it. Just because we ain't the old West, and it ain't like it was where somebody finds a gold nugget and they gotta stick it in their pocket real fast before anybody knows about it. There's still these people out there that just really need to realize that that's theirs. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to hide it. Shouldn't have to run or hide somewhere, to worry about somebody knocking them in the head and killing them and taking it from them. It's like, that's theirs.
That's the way this country is now, and it breaks my heart because I didn't grow up like that. I could ride my bicycle all over town,
Yeah.
And we've got a generation of kids growing up now that haven't had the ability to go do that because it's just not safe. There are predators out there that are just looking for opportunities to catch somebody with a flat tire on the sidewalk at 1 o'clock in the morning and do bad shit.
Yeah.
And it's awful the way
It is, man.
Yeah.
And dude, I love you, dude. That's one thing I can tell you. I came up from the same raising, man. I really believe that we'd all get along a lot better if we all just minded our own.
Amen, brother. Tell me your songwriting process.
Man, songwriting process is probably diving deeper than what I want to.
Do you write courses first? I mean, have you adjusted since you got to writing more in the Nashville
So,
system and stuff? Has it changed your perspective on structuring things?
man, you sometimes it's a melody that brings it out. Sometimes it's a hook. Like like I said the other day, that living hell song. And seeing a cardboard sign saying for sale, me thinking, man, what's the asking price for living hell? And then that turning into a song in like the next 20 minutes. And then being on a bus like a week or so ago, wrote one called Real Man. And I was literally like trying to, I pretty much go inside and pick myself apart. So it's like I go inside and go, I call myself on my own bullshit. I go, hey, what's a real man? Are you a real man? Are you doing enough? So like that's how that song starts, and I just kind of start going, and telling the story, and sometimes it's like, it's like it says, got a second job. That song started. I had it typed out because my guy went to take a shower and he come back up on the bus. Ben Roberts, shout out to Ben, and he came up on the bus and I said, hey, y'all wanted a bus so we could sit here and write. Now y'all going and getting that bunk every night, and I'm in here writing by myself. Like, what's the deal? I calling you on it. And I wrote 2 songs out on my notes, and I didn't have no melody, didn't have nothing. It was Take It From Me and Real Man, and I was just sitting there, I'm gonna corner him when he comes in. I'm gonna ask him if he wants to get on the song, and when I started reading him the lyrics, and he's like, dude, and he starts playing a melody. I said, all I need is a melody, man. And he played me a melody, and we sang it out the first time like it came out. And it was,
Okay.
but it says, got a second job because the other one ain't enough. It says, left behind you, family in a beat up pickup truck. It says, now you headed out again because the times are getting tough. But damn, that takes a real man.
Do you write more in poetic verse, like lyric first, and then marry melody to it after the fact? Is that the way you've always done
Yeah,
it?
well, I mean, yeah, I find myself, as a kid, my first real poem was,
It was a love poem,
it was a
wasn't
love poem. Dude, I was a friend zone, dude, man.
it?
If you ever
That's a
need a
terrible
friend,
place to be.
if you ever need
Trapped in the friend
if you
zone.
ever need a friend, I'm your man.
1 o'clock in the morning, I'm
Yeah,
your man.
but no, it's like, dude, I would write poetry and stuff like that, and then, my grandma passed away when I was young, and when I was 14, 15, and I wrote this poem, and I gave it to my uncle and them that was picking out a headstone. I just said, I said, I don't know if it's. I didn't go to the funeral. I'm not a funeral kind of guy, man. I can't do it. And I rode my bike down there by the graveyard, and that's about it. I rode back, but it was like I wrote this poem. It says, a beauty so great, a love so pure, a woman so great, who could ask for more? She was loved by many whose hearts were left sore, but this is my mama, and she's sore no more. And that's on the back of her headstone. And I remember that being something that I couldn't say in that moment. But I could say it, and it, and it's like I learned it. I used to like if I go back on my Facebook posts through the years when I was writing songs, putting them out there, I go lock myself in a room. I remember like I'd go to make just a regular simple Facebook post and realize I couldn't write anything if it didn't rhyme. And so every time I wind up going to type something, I'd type out this long Facebook post or with a picture or something, and I just put -BM. So if I go into Facebook now and I just push -BM, this thing pulls up things that I've never written as songs, but they're just
Very
poems.
poetic.
Yeah.
Did you ever study guys like Christopherson and stuff?
Oh
Because
man. Yeah.
you seem like you have that internal thing, like the things that, and I've never met Chris, but I've seen a lot of interviews with him, talking about the place he was in when he wrote Sunday Morning, coming down and just absorbing everything around you. You seem like you're very in
Oh
tune with
yeah.
all that stuff, and you're just trying to, it's just got to come out
It's
of you all
got
the
to come
time.
out, and that's the one thing that with hearing Randy, I think I said something about it the other day, like hearing Randy's new song, and
Oh yeah.
dude, I cried like a baby when I heard his voice again, and I was like thinking to myself, I sit down, this was on the bus, and I sat down and I said, man, could you imagine waking up and having all these songs in your head and inside of you and not being able to make a sound? I said,
It'd be awful,
it'd
and
be
that's
all,
because he's still in there,
it'd be,
you
yeah,
know.
he's
And
still in
and
there.
I've sat and had conversations with him. He look you in the eye, and he can acknowledge and knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And a little a verb, he can speak a little bit, but just to have all that still in you and having your knowledge in your head and just not
being
being able to
dude,
get it
I can't
out,
imagine it,
it'd be
man.
awful.
And
I mean, I'm glad you brought him up because I wanted to ask your perspective of this too. Because I love Randy Travis. I've been a fan. I've got to know him over the years before his accident and before the stroke and all that stuff. But did you see this thing that came out? They've got a new Randy Travis project. You familiar with it?
I saw the new song he came out with. I haven't
Well,
seen the
well, I think there's a whole project that they're working on. I think it maybe just an EP.
Really?
But it's all AI. So
Really?
what they've done is the guy that's been out there singing, doing the Randy Travis experience, singing Randy's songs while he's there, they got together with the producers and they tracked the song, and the guy that's been doing the Randy Travis thing mapped the song out, did his vocal on it, just
Really?
like he thought Randy would do it. Now, from what I understand, they took a lot of the vocals from all of Randy's records and they dumped them into AI, and it processed all of them.
Man,
And then AI sang his vocal over the top of the ghost track.
that's crazy.
So I mean,
yeah.
and I'm kind of torn about it because I think we're opening up a whole new thing. And for Randy, that's got to be amazing to hear himself sing a new song that he's never heard before, and it being his voice and his inflections, but it's still not him.
Still not him.
So if a label wants to do that with Kenny Rogers or Elvis Presley or
Frank Sinatra,
Frank
yeah.
Sinatra or anybody, if they own enough masters with vocals on them, if they could pull that out of
They
it,
can
get
pull
somebody.
new-
I mean,
yeah.
I just don't know what we're opening up for here. It kind of scares the crap out of me a little bit.
It does me too, man, because I didn't never realize how in depth it was until like I was searching something on Instagram, and it popped up AI, and I'm like, what? And this thing just starts answering, talking back and forth to me, and this thing knows more about me than I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then it also AI tried to say that I wrote a song in 2020, which I really wrote it in 2018, called "If It Was Easy," and I was in the oil field, and I was sitting in my little farmhouse, and the bathroom was the only place I had to get quiet away from the kids, and I sit by this old water heater, and I wrote "If It Was Easy," and I wrote a bunch of other songs there, and every time I'd write them, I just post them on Facebook, like in the moment, like here it is, and I would just trial by fire, like what do you think? And I was one of the first ones doing the trial by fire sitting back in the day before reels, man. And I remember AI telling me on Instagram, like, yeah, Bryan Martin has collaborated with AI on a song called "If It Was Easy," and I'm going, did he? Did he really? Because no, he didn't. Unless that water heater had AI in it. I don't know. I don't know what they're talking about. But for them to make claims like that, and me think about if they have the ability to make claims like,
And if it's been done on the internet, then it's trackable. Even if it was just spitting out stuff, you were having a conversation with it, and you were writing the song at the same time, it can still say that the AI was part of the collaboration.
well, see, that's
he was in the room.
Yeah. Well, the only, like I said, the deal was like it was just me, a guitar, and my phone set up with a video, and so it's like
That's crazy.
and that's the thing is like it was never a collaboration with and it tried to say my melody came from a AI, my melody came from that guitar. It's like just like all the other ones did. And so it's just like amazing to me to see that if they're able to do that and make these assumptions or allegedly,
Yeah.
all these things, like what else are they gonna do? Like what, and I don't know about the whole BMI. I know BMI sold out, I think, to Google, didn't they, or something like that?
I'm not sure. I've heard rumors that there was some stuff going on, but I don't know if it's
I don't know.
yet.
I don't know the whole process on all that. But like, what's the future look like for songwriters now? It's already rough on us. But what's it gonna be like now with AI that literally on that Instagram thing when I type in my name, that thing can generates song titles and song lyrics in the style of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going, what?
Quick too.
Quick. And I'm sitting there going, man, how many? Now, what are we gonna do? And I ain't gonna lie to you, some of these titles are good.
Well, yeah.
Some of these hooks are good.
I think I went on there, did an AI thing one time just to see what it was like, and it scared me so bad because the last thing I want to do is start playing around with it and wind up writing something
Yeah.
that I took from it.
Yeah.
So I don't even look at it.
Yeah,
I don't want anything to do with it. I typically ask people this question, so this is probably pretty stupid, but I would typically ask you, if you were on an island somewhere trapped, is there one piece of music you'd take with you? But I don't think you would. I think you'd take your guitar.
My guitar, man.
I don't think you'd want to. I think that's all you'd need.
If I didn't have the guitar,
it'd be a problem.
It'd be a problem. Yeah. I'd be listening to Across My Heart.
No. So I know we've talked about artists, but as far as songwriters, man, were there any of them that really got you? I mean, Paul Nelson was a huge influence on me. I got to write with Hank Cochran. Some of these legendary guys, Hank wrote The Freaking Chair for George Strait, and I've got to write with Dean Dillon one time years ago, and he intimidated the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But I've had a chance to be around a lot of those guys, and I've learned from which one of those guys. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them that I'm sure you're familiar with. What was their influence like on you?
Man, it's just like I just got this tattoo. That's the last show I was just at this last weekend was Townes Van Zandt. Man, dude, I remember Townes.
Hot one left you, baby.
And Blaze Foley, dude. If I Could Only Fly, man. And I remember like growing up listening to these guys and Guy Clark and Chris Christopherson. Yeah. But I think for me, it was just their honesty and how easy it came out. And it was like, that was my inspiration because it was like, wait a minute. When I wrote my first song and I just literally didn't overthink it. And I just let it come out of me the way it was. I was like, I cracked the code. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Just let it flow.
Just let it flow. And then, but it didn't take away from them. It just made me respect them more because they had to somehow or another get to that point to where they went, you know what? I'm not trying to write something that is going to, relate to everybody. I'm not going to sit down and try to figure out what relates to every single person in the world right now in this moment. I'm just going to write what I'm going through. And then guess what? It's amazing how much it relates to people.
Absolutely. Do you have to visualize it?
Man, yeah.
I mean, I do.
I do too. Like just thinking
the scene and get yourself in the scenario. If I can get my brain in the scenario, it just falls out.
Man,
if it doesn't, I feel like I'm flogging a horse, man.
Man, it's like when you wrote "Paint Me a," or when you sang "Paint Me a Birmingham." When you sang "Paint Me a Birmingham," like whoever wrote, who's the writers on that?
Gary Duffy and Buck Moore.
Man, that scene, like, dude. I mean, it's just like that's the one thing. Visually, I've not been able to actually paint that kind of scene. You know what I mean? Like, but I can paint what's going on. I can paint emotions. I can paint the things on the inside. I haven't got good at painting visuals. Like
that's the one of the things that like Jamie Johnson's in color. He painted it so freaking well because I mean you can smell the rose. You can see. Close your eyes, you can see the black and white pictures. It's just all there when you close your eyes. He just paints the picture, and that to me is what we all aspire to get to, is being able to write at that level.
Right at that, man. That's the thing too. Is like when you think about like, you don't see his breath.
Oh yeah.
Think about how cold that is.
It does it to me still.
Man, me too. Yeah. And like I said, I just shook his hand, Jamie, if you're listening, man. I know I'm the awkward guy that walked up to you at Losers. And today I'm just a big fan, man. But it's the truth, man. It's like, and it's the same thing with you, man. Sitting here with you, it's like, I'm having to learn how to, realize that we're all human. We're all, we spend so long idolizing people and doing this to where we don't ever want to lose that feeling, but at the same time getting to sit here and to talk with you and to realize that, like, man, we're just good old boys, man. And it's like, but at the same time, that what you worked hard to do and what you did for this, for this genre and for people like me, man, it don't go unnoticed on my end of it. And like I said, I just want people to know that, like, and I want to be eventually one day, I told myself, I said, I don't care how long it takes me to make it. If I ain't going in it for that kind of longevity, that kind of impact on on people's lives, I don't want to do it. And so that's where I'm at now. It's like, if I'm not doing this to, you know, change the game in my own way, but make an impact that's relatable and withstandable through the test of time, I don't want to do it.
I'm curious to see how you're going to be after the another big tour. I know you've been out with Jason. Do you seem to feel like sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, the performance part of it and dealing with all the people? Because that's man, it's the songwriting stuff. I know I got a lot of friends, man, that could have been great artists, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but they just don't want to deal with that crap. I mean, you remember Rodney Crowell? I don't know if you remember Rodney Crowell from the late '80s. He had an album called Diamond Dirt, and he had like 5 or 6 #1 records off that thing, and he was out there, and he never really did a follow-up record because he just didn't want to tour.
Yeah.
He just wanted to write freaking songs. It was too much for him. Some people just are not made for all that.
And that's the thing too, is like, I've learned how to turn it off.
Farm's good for that.
Yeah. That 100 acres, even though I can't afford it, if anybody, I need me a couple sugar mamas now.
Just a couple big old #1 records to do all of it.
I need me a couple big old records to come out of this. So y'all go stream. No, but man, dude, it's just one of those things where I've learned that when I go on stage, I'm not gonna. My biggest thing I've learned right now is, like, if I can keep it the way it is when I walk on that stage, they get me, whether my guitar's out of tune and me stopping and saying, "Hey guys, my damn guitar's out of tune." Let me tune this thing. Let me show y'all a little song I learned overseas. So it's like, but my thing is like, they get me, and I roll my sleeves up. I'm still wearing. I remember looking back at 6 years old, had my boots tucked in, my sleeves rolled up, and still the same kid. And it's like, but at the same time, it's like I was raised to roll my sleeves up, go to work. And so when I walk on that stage, I roll my sleeves up to show my scars and to show every flaw I got. So, like, I'm letting people know that whether you're standing in front of the stage or the farthest one in the back, the only thing different between me and you is I kept getting back up, man. And that's it. And like, that's one thing I want people to know is, like, I can't imagine in a million years myself as what they see me, and I don't think I ever will. And I think that's the.
Oh, you mean, how do you think people see you?
Well, I think a lot of people that come up to me, I think that's the biggest thing, is the weight, the pressure that you get put on you as the bigger you get, the more they kind of like.
And a lot of it you're going to put on yourself, too. Because you feel like you got people that you got to try to please. Well, and a lot of expectations on you. That's the hard part.
That's the hard part, yeah.
It really is. And that's the stuff that can kind of get you. You get out here and you get rolling all the time and you have crowds in front of you every night, and then you go home and you get by yourself, and sometimes you emotionally crash, man. You got to.
And you read my mail, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've been living this life for a long time. It's a hard thing to keep yourself.
It's
together.
And that's true, man. That's one thing that I've learned. Their expectations, of me probably isn't as harsh as my own, But at the same time, I've learned that if I take one one step further, I've learned that every step, like this last one, we ride doing what it did, man. I was like, that's why I wrote Wishbone. Literally, the song that I just, put out was me going, everybody asking me, what are you going to do? What's the next move? Where are you going to go? What's the next song? What's going to top that? And I went, I don't know. I didn't know that one was going to top the other one. So, like, I don't know. What's the next one going to be? But I sit down and I literally I said, well, if I could put this in the perspective of how I'm feeling, this is how it is. And it goes, nobody listens to the meaning of the words I've been singing. I've been rolling along so long, so far from home, feel like a ghost. There's tension in the rope, from chasing down a dream, bleeding self-esteem. Seems nobody knows the trouble in my soul. I've been running from the whiskey, now the money's all gone. It's time to break another wishbone. Burn down that old honky-tonk, do somebody right, wrong, love's gone, write another sad song. Tell them about your story, about the fame and the glory. Lord, it goes on and on. It's time to break another wishbone.
How many kids grew up having to pluck chickens and wring their neck and put them up and cut them up and pull the wishbone out? I remember when we were writing The World Had a Front Porch, Paul Nelson, me and Kenny Beard and Paul Nelson, Paul Nelson didn't know what a purple hull pea was. He had never shelled a purple hull pea, and I've shelled them till my fingers be
Yeah.
purple for 3 freaking days, sitting out on the front porch with my granny down in East
Picking
Texas,
blackberries.
pitching black, getting all that dye in your
Yeah.
hands. But there's little symbolism and things like that are very down to earth and very wholesome about the way things used to be. That people, a lot of people, when they hear that line, have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
No idea what
No
it means.
idea.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't write it the
Yeah.
way you write it.
Yeah.
I mean, make them have to look it up on the
Yeah,
internet.
that was a wishbone. Was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not
That's
just
some witchcraft stuff.
no, but that's that symbolism that you dig down deep and find as a
Yeah.
songwriter that makes it really cool to nobody else. The
That-
people that understand it appreciate
and
it.
that's the thing too. The people, that's what the biggest deal is. Like, if I don't, I'm not going to relate to everybody. I'm not going to please.
Not trying to.
Yeah, I'm trying to. And it's, it's just like I said, when I sit down and I wrote this whole new album, man, I just said I'm going to be completely honest, and the way I've always been, like, and I want it to be a progression for my fans. Like, when they go back to listen to my first album, that was just me and playing guitar with, had Milo Deering come in and play on steel, and in Texas with Chad Malden and them, and then we was at Kilgore at that old radio station. We recorded there, and my first couple albums never even got put out. I just had I had one called Country Through and Through that I just sold like 1,000 copies of and didn't have the money to reorder them. So it was like, did not put the money back to restock. I didn't,
Well, I'm sure there were other things that were more interesting at the time.
Yeah, like New Baby on the Way. Always a new baby on the way. But no, man, but I learned that I was like, I'm just going to do this thing until, my daddy always says it's a hobby till it ain't. And I remember coming out of that bedroom and he'd go, "You're pretty good, but you ain't no Vern Gosling." And
Vern was a mean old sucker, though. I've heard a lot of. I'm sure you've heard a lot of
I've
Vern's.
heard, yeah.
I've had some guys come through my band that had played for Vern. He was not an easy guy to work with.
Yeah, and I said, him and my dad would have got along. No, I knew that's why he loved that man. No, but look, I grew up, and I remember one of the first songs I learned how to play was Chisel and Stone, and I come out and I was singing that song. I sung that song for 15 years on the road, and in Texas and Louisiana,
That's He Stopped Loving Her Today. That's the equivalent of what that is. And Pine Box. I mean,
and
that's
I'm singing them all.
Oh, yeah.
Just sitting there going, and dude, I think, man, I covered so many of your songs. Like, I hope B and mine went back and re-got you some royalties on that. We go check it. Now that you heard it, B and mine, don't come after me for
Well,
it.
let's Google now, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't change the name.
But no, man, it's just, it's one of those deals, man, where it's just, I didn't even know I had my own voice until not long ago. I remember just I would think that if I wasn't out there trying to do my best justice on a Vern Gosling song or a George Jones song or a Tracy Lawrence song, singing karaoke, or if I didn't even know what my voice sounded like until here recently. And to be honest with you, it's a combination of all y'all.
Well, absolutely. I had Zach Top on the show a while back, and I was listening to his stuff just like I did prepping before I come in, just try to get a feel for some of your stuff and who you were. And I was listening to one of Zach's songs on the EP that I got, and I could hear Ricky Skaggs.
Yep.
I could hear Daryl Singletary. I could hear Keith Whitley, like all at the same time. It was really weird, man. But it's all his own voice. But you can hear those little influences just kind of tucked in there in the way he phrases and the way he sings.
Man,
But you need to ponder this, and I've thought about this a lot. I'm a product of George Strait and Keith Whitley and Randy Travis and Hank Jr. and all those things that influenced me when I was a kid growing up. What was Hank Williams Sr.'s influence when he didn't have the radio to listen to and didn't have all these people and things to digest and stuff? What was his influence? Where did this stuff originally come from? It all had to just be inside.
Yeah, it had to come from just the earth, man, like that. Just think about the way, and that's the thing too is, man, I think about it now, like when I look at 90s country, like every time a person would come on the radio, you knew exactly who that person was.
Absolutely.
It's like, nobody, there was no two Tracy Lawrences. There was no two George Straits. There was no two Alan Jacksons. There was no two Merle Haggards or anything. It's like I said, and I know David Allan Coe made, reference to him a lot, saying people like say he sounded like this, that, and the other. But there was it was David Allan Coe.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, I could tell the difference. First note out of his mouth, I knew who it was. Yeah.
What happened to those days? Like,
I think the voices are still there. I think the technology and pro tooling and everything, where you're tuning everything so hard, it's making everybody sound the same.
Yeah.
Because when you tune all the natural influences and inflections out of somebody's voice, all of a sudden everybody sounds the same. You're sucking all the personality out of it, and that irritates me. It's another thing that bothers me about technology that we're in these days.
Me too, man. I'm big about it too. It's like, you know, I know it don't sound great. Just leave it like it is.
Sometimes it's better when it feels a little bit more raw and real. It really is.
And what's crazy to me is everybody comes to me, I just love your voice, and I'm going, I'm glad you do. You know, but I'm just that guy. Like I've never you know, I think we were sitting at Red Door last night, and I'm sober, so I'm in there drinking an NA, and I'm too sober for this shit. And I'm sitting in there, and somebody had saw me in there, and they like queued up 5 songs of mine. And I'm like,
yeah, make me want to get up and leave. Gets real uncomfortable, don't it?
It does, and it's just like, man, you know, and I know that people will never understand that, and that's just for us to understand, you know, as artists. But it's just like, they're like, I can't believe you can't stand to hear yourself. I'm like,
but it just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like
when I'm in a room full of people. I mean, if I'm referencing something, I'll go back and listen to old things. If I'm working up music or finishing up an album, I mean, I live with it so much. But
it's like Mama. It's like Mama. Like when when she used to get caught on camera, like at Christmas, she go, "Don't you dare!
I don't want to hear myself talk.
I don't want to hear myself talk." They sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and we're playing old movies. Like back in the day when we used to play we're at the new Thanksgiving watching the old Thanksgiving, and they're like, "Turn that off. I don't like to hear myself talk." Man, it's the same. It's the same with everybody. I think that everybody, you know, has had that feeling, and you know, nowadays I think it's getting a little bit more to where people are a little bit too full of themselves and love to hear themselves talk. You know, with Instagram.
Yeah, Junior.
We're like people getting on Instagram and telling you all about your problems and you know, not working on their own. You know, it's me and you.
Yeah, I'm
talking to y'all.
Yeah. So you met my fellas back here, Derek. We call him Junior, and Scott. Tell me something good, boys.
What you got?
Tell us, hey, what y'all got? Pull me something up like Theo does.
Let's see. I had a couple things. Well, one was say you've written something that you feel you're excited about, and you want to share it, but you're not sure what kind of reaction you're going to get. Who do you share it with first, and how much weight do you put on if they don't get it or if they love it? You know what I mean?
So yeah,
right before you share it.
Yeah. So man, I know exactly where you come from. Like I said, that goes back to that coming out of that bedroom and going, "Hey, Dad, what do you think about this?" And go, "Yeah, you're pretty good, but you need to go back in there and work on it till you get it." I'm trying to watch TV, and so you know, I've learned that when you quit, when you second guess yourself enough during the writing process to where you're like, this ain't good. No, this ain't good. And then when you come out of the room, you got that gold nugget in your pocket, like you're talking about in the Old West. You're like, I'm not even gonna ask because I'm not even gonna ask, you know, because I've learned that. That's why I said trial by fire. I'd sit in that room if I wrote it in that room and I was in there with that water heater. I'd say I'd rather hear everybody else's opinion than one. You know,
I remember I came home several years ago, and I'd been writing with Mark Nestler and Rick Huckabee, and we wrote what I thought was a great song, one of the best songs I'd written in a while, called "First Step to Leaving." When she takes that first step to leaving, and I came home and I played it for my wife. She went,
Dude,
I ain't playing you nothing else.
me too, man.
I get down, man.
That's what trauma, dude.
It just hurts.
It hurts.
What's wrong with this? This is a great song.
We're never getting ourselves back.
I'm so mad.
We're still running.
Yeah, I'm so mad.
But that's what makes us. That's what makes us what we are.
But you spend 4 hours or however long it takes crafting a song.
Dude,
it just hurts to get it shot done that quick.
You know, me and Cody Jinks. You know, so when I was in 2019, when I went through my divorce, was so like I said, there was other things that led up to this, but I credit Cody. Thanks, Cody, for passing me that joint on the bus. You know, but I credit this because I had been 6 years sober, and then my wife had decided she wanted to have a party, and I said, okay, cool. She's like, well, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna just drink if you don't drink. And I was like, well, I'm 6 years old. And then she's like, well, don't worry about it. I just want to have the party. And then I'm like, no, we'll have the party. And then but I had a party. And then at 3 weeks later, I'm on the bus with Cody Jenks. My eyes are red on the Instagram post, and she thinks I've been drinking. So now that's a problem again. So I'm like, okay. And then I said, no, I ain't been drinking. I smoked a joint. Oh, now you're a pothead. And I was like, no, I just smoked a joint. I was in the bus. I didn't know how to talk to the guy. He just passed it around. And I was just there, you know. And it wasn't me. It was the joint.
It wasn't me.
So then I went through my divorce, man, and I wrote all these songs. But when I came back out of all this, I finally got a chance to sit in the room with Cody, and he couldn't even remember the bus thing because, like I said, I didn't even announce myself.
Because guy.
I didn't even announce myself as a songwriter or nothing. I was just a fan and a friend of somebody that was friends with him, and we sat in the room and we started writing these songs, man. And we wrote 3 on the new album. In 3 days, we wrote 6 songs. And he literally told me, he said, man, these are some of the best songs, you know, I've ever written or ever been a part of. And I said, dude, I just appreciate the opportunity. I said, you know, if I couldn't have been able to sit in that room and wrote these songs with you if I hadn't went through what I went through by smoking a joint on your bus. So I appreciate you,
Yeah.
you know, but I think it's one of those deals where, you know, as a man, you know, you get called a narcissist for long enough, you start believing it, you know, and then you go studying on how not to be one. And you realize you're not. And then you start trying to be self-aware, and you don't want to be too self-aware because that gets you in trouble.
Damned if we do and damned if we don't.
So you just learn how to just I'm going to go write it in a song. But in that song, Can't Complain, that me and him wrote, you know, it was talking about a man. You know, I can't complain. You know, but it's like if you find yourself seeking shelter, and if you're out there seeking shelter and you find yourself in chains, just know I've always had my own to bear, but you know I can't complain. And it says, I wish I could have said it all before I made it rhyme, before you heard it rhyme. But this is the same song you've heard me sing at least 1 million times. You know, and it's just like talking about every song we write, we are reaching millions of people. Well, we only was trying to reach the ones around us.
Oh yeah.
Like we only wanted to reach the ones that were right there, the ones that we want to hear it, never hear it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they probably never will. And that's tough as a songwriter, you know, to realize that, yeah, I do have to make everything rhyme because I don't know how to talk without, if I say this without putting a melody behind it, it always leads to you going into another room and not talking to me. But if I sing it 1 million times and you get money off of it, we're all good.
That's right. Very cool. Yeah.
Tell me something, Junior.
Man, I love humble beginning stories and first car, piece of crap kind of deal. So in 05, when I think it was the day I graduated high school, I got a 99 Oldsmobile Alero. When you hit the brakes on that sucker, the whole front end would just have to.
Oh, yeah.
So what was your first ride?
Man, my first ride was an 88 S10 Blazer.
Hell yeah.
And I had some, me and my daddy cross-wired some speakers in the back. He's an electrician, but he's not a speaker technician. It's like, that's what they're supposed to sound like. I said, no, it's not.
Look at that video.
Dude, there it is.
It
It was a red one. It was like there it is. That's it right there. Would not even spin out in the sand. And I tried to power brake it. Dude, that's it.
Oh my goodness.
I love it stuff.
Man, yeah, dude, that thing right there, I had some Sony Exploit Walmart special speakers in the back, and they were inverted, so the cones busted the first time you plugged them in, and it was like, and I said, Dad, why didn't we just take time to read the instruction? Well, if you don't want me to fix it, you go get somebody else to do it. I don't know what to tell you. And then I just had to learn. I'm riding around. I can't spin out the sand. I got a shitty sound system now.
God dang, man.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I've enjoyed having you. Your social media pages and all that stuff. Where can they go to find all your stuff?
Man, just Bryan Martin music everywhere, man. And it's just Bryan with a Y. Don't trust the ones with eyes. Okay.
So let's make a date and let's get back together next year after you've been on this big tour
Let's
and,
do it.
let me hear all about it.
Man.
And you and I need to get together and write.
We do too. Hey,
Yeah.
we might do it after this.
Well, I got one more coming in behind you, brother.
Oh yeah. Oh shoot, he got this thing like a cattle call.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we have to set everything up and tear it down. So usually we try to do a couple of days together
yeah.
where we just have we got to tear it all down because we leave tomorrow night. So we'll do podcast tomorrow and then pack her all back in the closet back there and roll them down the road.
I just appreciate this, man. It's just
I've enjoyed getting to know you, man.
You too,
You're a very
man.
interesting fellow. We got a lot of integrity, and I can tell you got music just rolling out of you. I love the shit out of talking to you, man.
Maybe we put one on a new record together.
I look forward to that, brother.
Hey, hey, y'all heard it on here. Y'all heard it here first.
Yeah, right. Y'all put your hands together for Bryan
Thanks
Martin.
so much, man.
Enjoyed it, buddy.
Thank you, brother.